the trucking industry is destroying evidence, moving evidence, changing evidence, while the people who are injured are headed to the hospital in the ambulance.
Are drivers of big rigs risking your safety by using their cell phones while they're on the road? That's what we're going to ask the lawyer on this episode. Hi, I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com. My guest is attorney Carson Runge with the Sloan Law Firm with offices in Longview and Houston, Texas. Carson, thank you for making some time for us today to answer our questions. I appreciate it.
Rob, thank you for having me.
So we've heard for years cell phone use while you're driving your car is dangerous. You shouldn't use it, you shouldn't do it. I would think you've got a big giant truck that you're piloting, even more of a problem. Is this something you're seeing that truck drivers are using their cell phones?
Absolutely. It is a problem. And it's a problem that's actually been addressed by the government. There are minimum safety rules that all trucking companies and truck drivers have to comply with. And they're the minimum safety rules. And about 3 years ago, those rules changed to address this problem, making it illegal for truck drivers to drive a commercial vehicle, an 18-wheeler, on a Texas or any type of roadway while operating or using a handheld cell phone.
So the rule is now they can use hands-free, but no hands held, right?
That's exactly right.
And I think I probably know the answer to this question. It may be obvious, but why is it especially dangerous for truck drivers to be using a cell phone while they're driving?
Well, it's especially dangerous when you have commercial motor vehicles, particularly 18-wheelers. These are vehicles that are so much heavier than our passenger vehicles, often operating at 80,000 pounds. 80,000 pounds going 70, 75 miles an hour with the driver who's looking down or texting, or even the visual distraction of looking down or using a cell phone, dialing a number, looking to see who's calling, taking your hands off the wheel. And then there's a cognitive or a mental distraction that drivers have while talking on their cell phone.
And you see, obviously, somebody doesn't come to you when everything's gone just fine, but what percentage would you guess of cases that you're getting of collisions involving big trucks involve someone using or being distracted by a cell phone?
It's actually amazing how often we see that. I know that we have several cases here that we're working on now where the cell phone records of the 18-wheeler driver clearly show that the 18-wheeler driver was using that cell phone while driving down a highway or roadway. And it is shocking because they're supposed to know these minimum safety rules. The motor carrier is supposed to ensure that their drivers are not using cell phones. And unfortunately, we see motor carriers and drivers who aren't taking this safety rule seriously.
You mentioned the records. That's not the kind of thing, I mean, if I'm me or a loved one who is involved in a collision, injured, that's not the kind of thing I would be able to get control of. I'm sure they wouldn't just volunteer that, hey, yeah, he was using his cell phone. That's why someone like you comes in, correct?
That's exactly right. No 18-wheeler driver and no motor carrier is ever going to voluntarily hand over the cell phone records of their drivers. But we are able, and we do have a way of obtaining those cell phone records through the subpoena process once a lawsuit's been filed. And we do it in every case to ensure that the 18-wheeler driver, or to see whether the 18-wheeler driver was using a cell phone. And, shocking to us, we are seeing it more and more frequently.
Are they sometimes try to hide it, try to somehow keep you from knowing about that?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. We usually ask them through written interrogatories or written discovery, whether on their cell phone. I have yet to have an 18-wheeler driver admit that they were using their cell phone, only to find out through the subpoena process once we obtain their cell phone records that not only were they on the cell phone at the time of the wreck, they were on the cell phone 25 minutes prior to the wreck during the entire duration of that drive. And so, no, they never admit to it.
And what's your advice to someone if they're in a collision and they suspect the driver had been on their cell phone? What's your advice?
Well, my recommendation is if you're involved in a collision and or you witness a collision where you know the 18-wheeler driver was on their cell phone, tell law enforcement. Be adamant that law enforcement document that in the report. And there is a way for either that person who's injured or if you're a witness for that injured person to verify that through the subpoena process by getting a copy of that cell phone or that driver's cell phone records.
And then I would imagine get an attorney involved.
Absolutely. Getting an attorney involved immediately is vitally important if you or a loved one have been injured in an 18-wheeler wreck. The 18-wheeler industry and their insurance companies have set up programs where if an 18-wheeler driver is involved in a wreck, they make one phone call. They call a 1-800 number, and they're going to have investigators and people out at that scene before the police leave. And what we have seen time and time again is that the trucking industry is destroying evidence, moving evidence, changing evidence, while the people who are injured are headed to the hospital in the ambulance. And so it's vitally important that people hire a lawyer immediately.
What if people are thinking, Carson, I can't afford a firm, I can't afford Carson to help me out? What is your answer?
My answer is yes, you can, because it doesn't cost you anything unless me or my partners get a recovery for you. There's no upfront cost. There's no hourly fee. We only win, or we only get paid if we win for you.
It's so much great information, Carson. Thank you for taking some time to answer our questions today.
Rob, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been attorney Carson Runge from the Sloan Law Firm with offices in Longview and Houston, Texas. If you want the best information or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, make sure to go to askthelawyer.com first. Also, please take a sec to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking below. Thanks for watching. I'm Rob Rosenthal with askthelawyer.com.